okay?
You're a really beautiful lady.
Make it a double.
Hey there, this is Mr. Green with Geek Hard, and I'm standing next to the amazingly non-holographic Robert Picardo.
Oh.
Robert, you, of course, for many people are known as the Doctor from Voyager. However, for many people, specifically my age, you will always be Coach Cutlip.
Ah, yes, because I taught you sex education, if you recall. Do you remember
Yes.
the episode where the coach teaches the boys sex education? Clearly, he had no first-hand experience with the subject matter. So that was probably the funniest 2 minutes of film I've ever been involved in, and it was partly me, but not much. It was mostly the writing and the editing, and just the show was so great.
Did you know going into it, like when you signed on to join the show, did you have any inkling whatsoever that it was going to be such a popular success?
I knew that the pilot was incredibly well written and very funny and also touching. I never expected to be back. I mean, I just was hired to do just the one guest star. So, and I was also starring on China Beach at the time, which was a drama on the same network. But apparently I went over well, and I do remember a line I had in the pilot, which was the jockstrap. What is it? What can it do for you? I remember that. So it was pretty magical stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, because it was always something that I grew up with, and I really loved the show, and of course loved. I'll admit it. I loved Coach Cutlip.
He was a tough combination, mean and stupid. It's funny. I usually play intelligent characters like the Doctor and all that, and he's probably the dumbest character I imagine him as a cross between Richard Nixon and Flipper. You know, if he were like Nixon with an IQ of 68 or 70, that's what I thought of Coach Cutlip as being. That was my image, and that he wanted to be an English teacher, but he was assigned remedial reading and gym, and he had a big chip on his shoulders for that. That was all my backstory for him.
Perfect. Now, of course, going forward a few years here, actually about 600 years, you played the Doctor.
Right.
And
Really, it's more like 400 years, I think. Or
okay.
388 years.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And I was just curious because, I'm not sure how much you had heard about it at the time, but there were some people who didn't quite understand your character and had made some comparisons to Data, which were not fair because as the show went on, and if you'd watched the show, you knew the Doctor wasn't anything like Data because he was holographic, first of all, but he was also a totally different character. Did you know anything about that, and did you push to make him different?
I was afraid, when I heard I was an artificial intelligence, I was afraid of being compared with Data because he was such a lovable character and, very childlike and, enthusiastic and anxious to help, and the Doctor was such a curmudgeon. So I was actually afraid of comparisons and happy that the audience accepted me as a totally different character because I'm such a crank. I thought of the Doctor basically as Humpty Dumpty,
right?
A big sort of who had this incredible self-image that was very carefully balanced. But the moment you knocked him off his, you knocked him. He was this giant puffed up thing that that fell apart.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And early on, you see there's a good transformation across the run of the 7 years. Is that as you said, he starts off as a real strong curmudgeon. Well, I'll say it, he's pretty much a dick at first, but then by the time you get to the end of the show, in the 7th year, he is a guy you almost want to go with drinks with, but he still has a little bit of a rough edge to him.
Well, that's if I have a stock in trade as an actor, it's called playing the guy you love to hate, or the character you initially think you're not going to like, and then you grow to like him, mostly because of his foibles. In that respect, Coach Cutlip and the Doctor have that in common. You don't like them at first, but their insecurities are so obvious and apparent that you grow. You realize how much of their character is an adjustment to their own character flaws.
Right.
and the insecurity they have. That they both had a sort of a strong paranoid streak too. That people are not according me the respect that I feel I deserve. So there was a similar driving force. It's just that you had to add about 300 or 400 IQ points to the coach to come up with the doctor.
Fair enough. Now moving on, I noticed when I was doing some research that I wasn't aware of this actually, and I missed out, unfortunately. Back in 2008, yourself and John Delancey were here in Toronto as part of Star Trek the Music. And I recently had gone to Star Wars, the music experience, right, which is, as I've learned, was pretty much a ripoff of what you guys had done.
I've heard of Star Wars. What is that? Another Star Trek ripoff is what you're saying?
Oh, totally a Star Trek
totally
ripoff.
Cool. Yeah, what are you going to do?
What was Star Trek the music like, and working with John?
You didn't see it, right?
It
was unbelievable. It was so great. It was so great. We really missed it. That's it.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, it was all the, the greatest, starting with Alexander Courage, and then through, Jerry Goldsmith and James Horner and all the great music, primarily from the movies, obviously, because, the shows have their themes, but they played the themes from all of the different shows, except for Enterprise, because that doesn't count as classical music. And no orchestra wants to play the theme song to Enterprise, you know that. John and I basically tell the story of Star Trek with a lot of personal anecdotes and jokes and all sorts of things. And we went over very well. And we did it we did it with the Toronto Symphony, with Kitchener-Waterloo Symphony, with the Calgary Symphony. So we made it you missed us several places in Canada. Although I know Canada's a big place.
Yeah.
It's a big place.
Was there any potential, maybe...
to do it again?
Yeah.
Only in my living room, I think. Only in my living room, and that would involve having about 108 musicians sitting in my living room. I don't think it's going to happen. I'll talk to my wife, but I doubt it. I really don't think so.
We could do some renovations and, extend it a bit.
We have a big living room, to tell you the truth. It's just getting the chairs, and the neighbors complaining about when it goes, all that loud, all the horn stuff,
Right.
I don't think it's going to work. So I think you missed it. And it's a shame, because the show was great. Really great.
Oh, I'm sure it was. And you and John, must have had tons of anecdotes and good times.
John and I we both play arch characters, so when you put us side by side, it's hard to decide who's... So we have to alternate being arch. Once in a while, he gets the arch line, and I get to be, the gull. And then he plays the gull, and I get the arch line. It's kind of fun.
And just one last question. I was just curious. Now, obviously, you've been to conventions before, Star Trek and sort of things. Do you have any weird, crazy fan experiences that just kind of like you were like, what am I in here?
I have really very good experiences. That the times when I've been stalked in the hallway at the hotel and all that are so minimal and so long ago that I really have nothing to complain about. The oddest experience I had as a fan came to a convention once in the South in the U.S. I think it was it wasn't South Carolina. It was somewhere in the South, and he carved headstones for a living. So he gave me a headstone with my face carved in it as a gift, and I thought that's a little, it's a little weird. I didn't know what he was telling me, whether Star Trek was the end of my career or whether he intended to kill me the moment he gave it to me. But the hardest part was getting it home, because I had to take it in my carry-on bag. A piece of marble this big and that thick. And my carry-on bag was... And when they open your bag at security and you're carrying your own headstone, questions ensue. Is it just that you're always this prepared? Do you have a funny feeling about the flight? I mean, it's just... Anyway, but I carried it home, and it's in my garden for about 15 years. My headstone. So if you're watching, sir, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Please don't give me another one. Thank you.
Wow. That's...
I left him speechless. I'm going to go now.
Yeah, he did.
Hello to whoever watches, hello.